Dan, I'm going to start.
Okay, we're just checking to see if his works.
Okay.
And do we know how to turn on the mics? Are they on? How can I have to ask that?
Today is July 20th, 2021. The Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is called to order at this time. I need a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes from June 15th, 2021.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Minutes stand as written. If you've not done so, please sign in the back of the room. And anyone wishing to speak tonight, please stand and raise your right hand.
Joe?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Answer with I do.
I do.
Thank you. Do we have any special requests tonight, continuance, withdrawals, or waivers?
Good afternoon, members of the board. Joe Calderon, 11 South Meridian, Indianapolis. I represent the petitioner in 2021 LUV 07, 5505 North Post Road. I think this showed up on your agenda as a request for continuance, but just to make that request official, we are playing around with the site plan a little bit following the recommendation of the staff, and we intend to engage a little bit more and would therefore appreciate a continuance to August 17th to continue those discussions and refinement.
Okay. I need a motion and a,
So moved.
I'll second
do we do with notice or without notice?
with notice.
We need, okay. So a continuance with notice. I need a motion and a second, which, okay. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Continuance has been granted till next month. Any other special requests, continuance, or withdrawals? Madam Counselor?
Ladies and gentlemen of the BZA, my name is Maria Rusamaroff on 1754 Sinclair Drive, Lawrence 46235. I am here this evening to request a continuance for 2021 LUV-008 regarding classic car sales. I would like to ask a continuance so that the constituents of my area, of which I am a counselor in the 4th District, wherein this particular property lies, I would like to organize a meeting so that some of the folks that are interested in this particular property and this use may have an opportunity to speak with the owner and his petitioner so that we might come to some kind of meeting of the minds.
So you're saying no one has met yet?
Not to my knowledge. I certainly have not met with anyone. I was only notified of this, maybe to my own fault, about 2 weeks ago, and given the summer and so forth, the Parkside Crossing subdivision and some of the residents that I believe are here this evening, and if you would like to poll the audience to see those persons who are here and maybe in favor of a continuance, I would be in favor of that.
Okay. Is there anyone here for this petition? 21 LUV 08?
Joe Calderon, 11 South Meridian, representing the petitioner, Sean Miller.
Sean Miller, significant cars.
We were hoping to avoid a continuance at all costs due to some license transfer issues that he's under the gun to make. We truly believe that the use is innocuous and that it will not affect the neighbors. We understand the board's now put in a difficult position. We were not aware of any issues following sending out notices a couple of weeks ago. So we're put in one of those tough situations. We don't want to fight the district counselor, of course, but he's got a timing issue. So I don't know if you want to explain that just for a moment, and
Well, I need to move my license, and it's a process that you have to go through with the state, and if that gets delayed by another month, I may not be able to use this property, which I own, and would really prefer to not have to go rent another property. But unfortunately, I think if this gets delayed, I'm going to be pushed in that direction. I'm not a used car dealer. I mean, yeah, the cars I sell are used cars. They've been used for 50 to 75 and even sometimes over 100 years. I'm an automotive historian. I sell antique and classic cars, mostly that date from pre-World War II. Most of the cars are sold online via the internet. Very few people come to my showroom. This is not, and I own this property, may be living here. This is not, I don't want to do anything to change the quiet, peaceful nature of this area.
Okay, well, we're not here to
anyway, it's up
give
the
the
board
case.
to understand kind of the urgency and way that counselors request, and yeah, that's all we can do is.
What license are you talking about?
In Indiana, to do what I do, the only license that's available is a used car license, and it requires a physical location that's properly zoned.
And how soon did you realize that you needed this license to be transferred? I mean, being in this business, I'm sure it's not something you learned overnight.
Unfortunately, the location I'm in now, I was not given very much notice to vacate. The lady wanted to sell the building and gave me very little notice. I mean, less than 60 days. So,
The problem is if we hear it as a board, whatever decision we have, should it pass or not pass, you have to wait a year almost unless some kind of other circumstance comes up to hear it again.
okay.
I don't know what the board wants to do. I mean, do we want to hear it tonight? Do we want to continue it to the next month meeting with a continuance? We're not here to negotiate everything tonight.
We're not ever here to negotiate.
Negotiate, that is correct.
But it seems like there should be a discussion that hasn't happened. Unfortunately, I would make a motion that we do continue it for 30 days, giving a chance for the neighbors. I would like to have the neighbors who are here stand up.
There's three in the back.
Okay, thank you. But I continue my motion that.
Motion.
I
Is there a
think the
second?
neighbors
I'll second.
and Maria have a right to meet, and it sounds like it's being worked out. It's a shame we have this, that we meet on a 30-day cycle and you have this problem. But maybe there's a way you can get a little extension or something, I don't know.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. It has passed that we are going to continue it until the August meeting.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, we will hear our first case, which is old business. 21 LSV-05, 6002 Sunnyside Road. A variance of development standard of the following sections of the City of Indianapolis Consolidated Zoning/Subdivision Ordinance in order to facilitate occupy of a portion of the existing facility by a distributor of lumber-type products. Number one is 743-306-2, outside storage in excess of 25% of the building within 500 feet of a protected district without complete wraparound screen fencing and in excess of a height of fence. Number two, 744-510-2, 12-foot tall fence in front and side yard proposed, 3 1/2 permitted in front yard and 10 feet permitted in side and rear yard. Who's here for the petition?
Sorry.
Yes.
It's been a busy day today. I had two others downtown this afternoon. Joe Calderon, 11 South Meridian, Indianapolis. I was not here last month when I understood the chief presentation was made. I am here to kind of bring you as a board up to speed as to the changes made, and then turn over the podium to Mark Brennan from U.S. Lumber, because my understanding is that there were a lot of operational questions that were on the board's mind. But let me get you up to date on the site plan changes, which we hope there we go. I really need our better glasses. So here's the updated site plan, and I do have 11 by 17s in case you want to look at them more closely. Thank you. It's probably easier than to gooseneck and try to look at the screen if you're on the side, or in Chairperson Lytle's case, turn around. So, even though the same basic layout is the same, what we've done is we've changed the fencing plan around a little bit, I think, to address the board's meeting. Last time, we had proposed a 12-foot decorative fence kind of on the south end of the property where that material storage staging area is, so that we'd have a decorative fence fronting on Sunnyside Road with some landscaping wrapping around very slightly. Then we had a chain link fence on the north side, and then it just wrapped around a little bit to the south side to provide a little bit of screening and separation from Meyer Plastics. We did not have, at that time, an entire wraparound fence, which was read into the record. That may have been a cause for concern. And what we've done since that time is corrected some of those things, hopefully to the board's satisfaction. So now we have, on the Sunnyside frontage, both on the north and south sides of the building, on a 2-foot berm, a 10-foot decorative fence. So what you'll see from Sunnyside is that look with landscaping both in front of the south side portion of the fence, as well as on the north side, north of that north entry drive. So it'll be a much better presentation from Sunnyside with some enhanced landscaping. We then transition from that decorative fence wrapping around to the south to an 8-foot vinyl-coated chain link fence that kind of runs to the west end of the Meyer Plastics property line. And then at that point, it's an 8-foot galvanized chain link that wraps around the entire west side of the property and then connects on the north side. So everything will be contained within fencing, and that, in essence, removes one of the variances. We don't really need a variance for fence height for the side or rear yard. We still do require it for the front. Rightly so. You're only, even in an industrial district, you're only allowed 3.5 feet, which frankly is not practical for an operation. Again, the use is permitted. It's just a fencing issue. The outside storage is closer to the neighborhood to the northwest, but we've got, frankly, from the property line, it's just about 400 feet. By the time you get to the storage area inside that tree line, you're really going to be very close to the 500 feet. Tree line will stay there. Of course, we don't own the rail line, so we do believe we have adequate separation from the neighborhood to the north and west. And we hope that you find that the landscaping on Sunnyside gives you the look. Keep in mind, there's a tremendous amount of setback from Sunnyside Road, so you're not going to be driving down Sunnyside and confronting something that looks like a prison, with a tall fence. We'll soften it up with landscaping. The 10-foot fence will go on a berm, so it should be appropriate given the distance separation from Sunnyside on both the south and north sides. I'm going to turn this over to, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor. Dan Zerner with the City of
Yeah.
Lawrence, Sri Goplan, City Engineer, City of Lawrence. It's our understanding that the petitioner has also agreed to conduct a light shadowing program to where the security light on the building does not leave the side of the property. Is that correct?
That is correct. On the north side, those light fixtures will be replaced to be shielded or meet the code so that they don't spill across the property lines. We did, I think Mr. Cooler had contacted IPL or AES to talk about the official replacement.
Does that need to be into the commitments?
Are there any other questions regarding the site plan before I turn it over to Mr. Brennan from U.S. Lumber?
No? I think you've done a great job here and listening to.
Well, I'm appreciative of the team that really kind of picked up the ball and listened to the board last month. Unfortunately, I wasn't here, and they did a great job making changes. So we'll turn it over and let them talk a little about the operations, and hopefully the board will be comfortable.
Thanks, Joe. Hey, good evening. Appreciate you guys taking the time to hear just kind of what we're looking to do in your city and just get a chance to know us a little bit. And so I kind of just prepared this so you guys could get a feel for who we are, you know, what we're all about, just so you guys would have some comfort that we'd be good partners in your town. So a little bit about U.S. Lumber. You know, I wanted to give you guys just an idea of who we are. You know, our dedication is to our customers, our people, and our values. And so one of the things that you'll find, whether it's our president talking to investors or whoever, it's our values are who make us who we are, right? So I generally lead with that whenever we're trying to explain to other people who we are. That's where we camp. So, you know, we are a values-based company that believes in really 9 kind of core things. And that's always do the right thing, even when it's hard. Give credit where credit is due, because it's not mostly due to you. Use your influence to have a positive impact on people and serve the entire person, whether that be in your community, employees, customers, whoever that may be. We're consistently responsive to our customers and our suppliers. Give everything you've got every day. Don't finish fresh. Lead with influence, not position, title, or tenure, you know, to have a positive impact on the people that you're engaged with. And then live out idealism, you know, don't settle. And so those are just some of the things. I go through that kind of quickly. I could spend 5 hours talking about that, but that is who we are at our core. And then what we do is we supply building materials to independent and retail lumber yards that serve builders and contractors, whether that be from new home construction or projects that do-it-yourselfers are doing. That's kind of the nature of our business. And so generally the way that looks is we're receiving material in the morning hours. We're pulling orders from larger quantities or bundles of material, breaking them down into smaller sizes, and then redistributing them to those independent lumber yards. So that's kind of the genesis of what we do. Our main product categories, we do a lot with composite decking and railing. We do a lot with James Hardie fiber cement siding, some engineered lumber products that are used for floor systems and homes and things like that. We'll do some plywood and some lumber. That's a smaller portion of what we do, but that's kind of just generally what we do. And we've been in the Indianapolis area since 2010. We have a location over on South Kitley and a location that we lease on Franklin today. So we've been servicing Kentucky and Indiana here for 10 years, and we're just at a point where we need some more space. We need a new home to serve from. So just to give you guys an idea about who we are and just kind of the size of our company, we would be the second largest private building materials distributor in North America. You know, we've grown over the last several years through acquisition of, 3 different companies. You know, we've got multiple locations, about 25 locations in the United States and in Canada. And we believe in investing in our people, property, equipment, and product lines. And this is an investment for us to grow and to take on more space so that we can provide more jobs and be, have a good growth plan for the people who work for us. Let's see. So this is just a map that kind of shows where all of our U.S.-based locations are. So as you can see, we service mostly the Southeast is where we got our start. And then through acquisition and some greenfielding, we've expanded into different geographies. And so that's where all of our locations are. We have 22 distribution centers in the U.S. We employ about 900 people in the United States. We have about $150 million in inventory, and that number is low compared to where it is today. But that's kind of who we are in the United States. We also acquired a company in Canada that employs 1,200 people, has 4 distribution centers, and a lot of interior warehouse space. So I bring that up to say we've been doing this for a long time, since the 90s when our founder formed the company, and we've been really responsible citizens of the community in all these different places. So specific to Indianapolis, what we'd be looking to do in this facility, we would have approximately 25 employees with an hours of operation divided between 2 shifts between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. And so I know one of the questions I believe that was raised last time was just concern around traffic flow and things like that. And so what I would tell you guys is if there's a traffic problem, we would want to avoid that at all costs because it would slow us down as well. But I don't see that being an issue because just of the number of tractor trailers we have going in and out of the facility on a daily basis, it's not an overly high number. So we would have 8 trucks that depart, generally between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. that would turn right out onto Sunnyside and get up to the, I can't think of the name of the road. Somebody help me. Yeah, the Pike Road. And then generally we would have 8 inbound trucks that would be delivering materials from suppliers that would come in and be able to pull into the facility, not be out on the road. We would have, clearance for those guys to come in and unload inside of the yard. We generally have on average about 6 customer pickups a day, that come in, and generally it's small like deck packages and things like that where our customers sent them in to get it directly instead of us shipping it to them inside of their location. So generally speaking, I would say that the traffic impact is very small. It's 16 trucks going in a staggered fashion throughout the day. And then, 25 employees parking and just some light customer pickups that happen throughout the day. It was asked about some wage information. What I would tell you guys is we employ blue collar and white collar employees all the way from, from varying skill sets, from a guy who's, just helping package all the way to a regional sales manager. So it's in our benefit to make sure that we're on market. And so we have our HR team does analysis of our comp structure twice a year just to make sure that we're on market so that we can attract and retain employees. So we do that regularly and feel like we do a good job with that. So one of the things I wanted to show too is just kind of some pictures just from some of our facilities, just to kind of get some context into who we are, what we do. So this would be our Greenville, South Carolina location, just showing how we have our products stored outside, inside that facility. And then some pictures of just some of our equipment that would be kind of in and out of the facility. So that would be, we have generally 2 different types of trucks. We have a semi up in the top left that'll have a mixed load of building materials that's going out. And then the bottom right, we would have curtain side trailers, for things that, we have to keep covered and dry, but they're good looking pieces of equipment. So I wanted to just show you guys that. And then this is just some more of our kind of internal warehouse equipment, just some of the forklifts that we utilize and to get the work we need to get done. And so, from a just, how is the facility going to look? I would tell you guys, and if my operations manager was here today, he would tell you that I'm a stickler for housekeeping. We want our product to look good. It represents our brand well if we have the right image. So when people roll up to our building, I want them to be proud, that they're looking at U.S. Lumber. It was a big sticking point and something that our founder he likes to go to our branches and check and make sure they look good, So I would tell you guys that we would be you wouldn't have issues from us in terms of our housekeeping and how we keep the site. So with that, I'd invite any questions just about our operation, or if I needed to go into more detail on any of that. Just wanted to give you guys a kind of a picture of who we were.
You are the manager here?
Yes, I'm the regional manager so I have responsibility for 6 sites throughout the Midwest, from Louisville, Indy, Columbus, and then we've got a location in Pennsylvania and one in West Virginia. I represent those 6 sites with U.S. Lumber.
So you said that you would have 8 trucks starting between 5 and 7 a.m., and you referenced 8 inbound trucks.
Yes, sir.
You didn't give us a time frame for that.
The inbounds will come generally in the AM. With the event, I said 7 a.m. to noon. Sorry about that. I had it on the slide. I just didn't say it. They generally come in the AM time period. You might have a truck who's running late, and stuff like that. But we would generally want to receive in the morning time, right? So that we can get that product in, get it pulled, and get it back out to customers throughout the day.
And would this operation consolidate the other locations on Kitley and Franklin?
Yes, sir.
One of the questions I had at the last meeting was, given the, I believe, 150,000 square feet plus over an acre of outdoor, what is the amount of time and the load that will take to load the product into the facility to begin operation?
So just from moving from Kitley and Franklin into this facility?
And loading whatever you're going to load, how much product you're going to load in there.
Sure. So we've generally, when we've moved branches in the past, that's generally, I would say, a 4-week period of time where we will bring in other trucks from other facilities to load at Kitley and Franklin, bring over, and our desire would be to unload that truck and put that into the facility in its final resting spot. So we're not handling the material 4 times and creating damage and things like that. So we want that process to go as quickly as we can make it. We probably have, it's hard to give a point of reference here, but I would say it's probably all told, say it's probably 80 truckloads of material spread out over a 4 to 6 week period of time. That's probably anywhere from 5 to 6 truckloads a day that we would want to be moving from one location to another.
Will this operation be also working and everything, or it wouldn't be up and running until after all the product's in there?
Good question. So we generally, what happens is once we get the majority of our product moved over, right, you get to a point where you don't have the material you need to give to your customers at the old location. So we generally refer to that as the tip. Once we have more product at the new location than the old one, we'll start generally operating out of the new facility while we continue to clean up and move the inventory from the old facility.
Any other questions for him right now?
Have you had any problems of kids climbing the fence and playing on your lumber? It
Never.
looks like it's such an attractive nuisance. I can see myself as a 12-year-old, look, I'm going to climb Everest.
So no, we have never had that, and I would tell
Good.
you guys that we never with kids coming on our property. Now, we've experienced theft, in other locations before, but I would tell you guys that we would have as much interest in keeping that from happening as everyone here would.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah, with, security cameras and things like that. So we would do a good job there.
Okay, any other questions at this time?
Just wanted to, kind of have you reiterate safety plans for keeping lumber dry, preventing any type of, fire or other types of hazards that could potentially.
Yeah, sure. And Joe, maybe I'll touch about this too, but as part of this lease negotiation, we'll be putting in there'll be a new fire suppression system inside of the building. The exterior lumber, is generally wrapped. We'll have fire, hurricane, tornado evacuation plans that all of our employees are trained to. We do that at every one of our facilities in case that happens. But we have designated smoking areas, in certain spots. And, people hear U.S. Lumber and they think a lot of 2x4s, right? And that's generally not what we do. You know, we don't sell studs. We sell more fiber cement siding, LP trim, Trex decking, which is naturally fire retardant. So there is some lumber there, so I don't want to say there's no risk, but we do everything we need to do to mitigate that risk.
Thank you.
One last question regarding the traffic pattern. I'm assuming that all of the traffic would be coming in from and going out onto Pendleton.
Yes, generally, that's going to be our connection road to that interstate system. So generally, we'd be going right out of the facility.
Right out of the city.
Turn right out of the facility.
Go out Sunnyside and then down to Pelham Pike.
It would be left in, right out, so nothing coming from the north. on Sunnyside.
Yeah, I mean, without knowing the exact location of all of our customers, if there's a, there's a school down there, we would want to avoid getting stuck in any traffic down there with driver's time being so sensitive and all that. We're going to go around that every time we can.
There's a school, there's a train track, there's.
Yeah, we would have no desire to be going that direction if we can avoid it.
Okay, any other, all questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that concludes what we wanted to share with you tonight, since you heard a more generalized presentation last month. Of course, we have the owner of the property here, myself, and representatives of the tenant to answer any last questions you may have, but thank you very much for your
Thank
time.
you. Now we'll hear from anybody who is for or against the petition. Honorable Rick Wells.
Thank you. I'm Rick Wells. I'm City Councilman, District 2, here at the last meeting. Last meeting, I had brought up the possibility of a traffic study, and I didn't hear really anything that really related to that. My immediate concern is this massively big school bus garage that's going to be, or that is being built and should be in operation sometimes in the very near future, just about a mile south of this facility. And I think I had asked at that time that the owner or this lumber company at least contact the township school system to see what kind of bus traffic was going to be going up Sunnyside. Because all this is pretty much looks to be happening. Their deliveries and such are going to be going on about the same time as the kids are all going to school. And so I'm just concerned about that. Also, I was concerned, I thought that this, maybe I just didn't hear right, but I thought this company was purchasing this property, and did I understand to hear a lease? Is that what I heard? Also, I'd like a little more clarification on the size of these trucks that are going to be coming in, during the course of the day. Are they going to be small trucks? Are they going to be semi-trucks? But these are just a few questions that I had and a few concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for or against the petition? You'll have a chance. Anybody else? Sir, please step up to the mic, state your name and address for the record, please.
Luis Irena Jr., Sunnyside Road Baptist Church, 6102 Sunnyside Road, Indianapolis. And we're the neighbor right next door. And we've appreciated the relationship with the Crediplex and its previous business venture. Just the concerns that I had here was last meeting, I think we heard it was 50 employees. Now that's been reduced to 25. And then we heard there was just not many trucks, but now we're hearing there's going to be 80 53-foot semis, is what I saw in the picture there. Those are the standard kind of semis that are going to be bringing in the loads to get the facility operational over that those 4-week period, I think he said. And I just see every day that were there, of course, that Sunnyside Road and Pendleton Pike intersection is a difficult intersection. The way it's designed is difficult with the awkward left turn lane. So people back up, and then people are trying to come in off of Pendleton Pike, making a right in Sunnyside, then they make that immediate left to get into that other area behind the strip malls there. And it all backs up now. And so when you have a semi coming up to Pendleton Pike from Sunnyside, the length of the semi is, one semi is going to automatically block that access of coming in and going through, which is going to back up the traffic onto Pendleton Pike. For those freaking a right from Pendleton Pike onto Sunnyside, they're not going to have anywhere to go. It's going to back up right there by the drugstore. So that's a concern I think of right away, because 8 semis will really back it up. 1 would back it up. And so already there's an issue there. I just want to just bring that to your attention. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that. That intersection backs up the way it's designed now. The other thing is, I've been watching the trucks in the area, because that's where we work, and many of the trucks miss. You might know that the Incrediplex has 2 access points from Sunnyside, and they miss the turn and they go into our driveway. And once they're in, they're in. It's like you have to have a semi do a U-turn in our church parking lot, which is a difficult process on our asphalt. And so when you have, one every once in a while, when you have others, and we don't want to put a gate up, we don't want to make it a restricted thing. We want people to come. And so that's just a concern we have as far as the traffic, because you might know the rehab center's on the end of that side, and people miss that driveway. And in the car, it's not as difficult when they miss a turn and do a U-turn in our parking lot, come out. With a semi, though, it's a big endeavor to get that turned around. And so I had one the other day in the parking lot do that. That's why it made me think about it. I thought he had a really hard time turning around to get back out. And then typically, our driveway is sufficient for cars and smaller trucks, but our driveway has the pipe that goes underneath for drainage. And because the trucks can't make that turn back on without going all the way out to make that right, they've crushed the pipes on each side. So essentially the water goes over the driveway because they can't go underneath anymore. So I'm concerned that how they're going to make the turn. I watched them. It's really difficult to not go into oncoming traffic, even making a right turn with a 53-foot truck. I don't see how you can, the driveway is just not that wide enough. That's why I was thinking perhaps expanding that entrance for them so that it wouldn't have to go, if you drive a big truck, you've got to swing out, then, because otherwise your right rear wheels of your tractor is going to go right over whatever is there. So it just seems like it's going to be a difficult endeavor to make the turn right out of the property without going into oncoming traffic. I'm sure you've been driving, you see a semi makes a turn in the intersection, they got to come, you have to back up so they can make the turn. That's going to be a similar situation because it's not that wide. And I have a full-size pickup, and I went over there the other day and just tested how to make that turn. And it's a difficult piece when you have a tractor trailer. So that was just a concern I had. I think it could be resolved with maybe giving them a larger lane, if you will, to exit and to enter into there. That might keep them from having to go into oncoming traffic. Because see, when the train comes, as you know, and you're on the other's lane, and the semis kind of come out, they're going to be stuck because they can't pull out over an oncoming traffic to make the turn because they're all backed up when the train stops. And we have a lot of trains that go through that area. And then on top of that, when the school buses stop, then it backs up again. And so then it's going to be solid traffic. And then you're trying to make that turn, and you got the cars on the other side. You can't. You're going to have to wait a long time. So I'm just saying I can just see I don't think it's an irresolvable problem. I'm just saying it needs to have attention given to how they can make that turn more easily. Maybe that means giving up a greater area of asphalt, when they're making that turn there, so they can do that without going over the grass and over whatever's there, or as well as coming in. So I'm just thinking those are things to consider for traffic, because we don't want to have more concerns than we already do of the traffic people going through there now. Many people, if you're there in the area, as soon as the train stops, they do a U-turn in our parking lot because they don't want to wait, and then they go back out the Pendleton Pike and try to beat the train at the next intersection. And so I'm just saying that's what's currently going on. And then if you add the bus garage buses and then you add the semis, even if it's just 8, that's a that could be an issue during that school bus time period. So that's what I just want to bring to your attention. Like I said, Incredible X has been a great neighbor. We've appreciated a relationship with them. We're happy that they're going to be able to find another business endeavor to continue with their property. I just think that's going to be a safety issue perhaps with regard to the traffic, that's all. Looking forward to having some good new neighbors. So we think that's a good thing in our community. I just wanted to bring that to your attention with regard to the traffic issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else for or against the petition?
Good afternoon. My name is Terrell Giles. I am a city councilman, District 1. Not necessarily want to express for or against, but I do want you guys to consider, I'm really big on economic development in the city of Lawrence. I really am. But we also have to be concerned about the quality of life for our city. Just north of this area, even though we do have it zoned as an industrial area, is really kind of the heart of our bedroom community. Begins once you cross those railroad tracks. And so I think about the access that Sunnyside serves as an artery, to all those communities and neighborhoods to the north there. I am concerned that the Crediplex was a added benefit to support those neighborhoods that we're talking about. And so, yes, I respect the fact that this new owner is going to not have parking lot lighting and stuff like that dripping on them. But as we develop and as we build this city, and this city is landlocked, we have few opportunities to build our city in the way that we want it to be built. And so, of course, economic development is extremely important, to get our city to move forward. But keeping Lawrence an attractive place for the east side of Marion County for families is something I want you to think about. I am tired of everybody moving to Fishers. And when I talk to folks about moving to Fishers, they talk about those sorts of things. And people who buy, I just think that young families that go out and buy $300,000 homes, and that's what some of those homes are going for just above here or more, not so sure if you want to be trying to get downtown to Indy to your job and you got to worry about 16 53-footers coming out on Sunnyside. You got kids bustling up on the bus deal. It's already a very busy serving road for our city. And the work that we're doing on the Ford and everything, I just don't know if that discourages what else we're trying to do. And so I respectfully respect you guys, the mayor, and respectfully our economic development. I truly respect them in this. It's not the worst thing that could happen if this thing gets built here, but I'm now more concerned about that, especially when I learned that they're not buying the place. I thought before they were buying it, and I believe in business and folks being able to purchase things, but now if it's leased, I don't know who those initial owners are, but I don't know. That's just my opinion, and I appreciate you giving me some time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for?
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Jeff Arnold, and I am one of the principal owners in the Incrediplex property, along with my new partner, John Goulian, sitting back here. John was our general manager. We've operated that. I've been involved for 14 years. I was initially a passive investor. But, we made a commitment to serve the community and did all we could, paid all of our taxes, had many negative cash flow years. But we continued to grow the product. And with the help of John and his excellent team and working with, especially I would compliment the city fire department and the city police, who became real allies, as well as the community at large. We tried to make it work. It was a building that did manufacturing. And many years ago, we converted it to a sports entertainment facility. We're still going to be the owners. We're still going to be good citizens. We're going to be sensitive to the church, to Myers Plastic. We're going to be sensitive, and we'll be around. John lives 1 mile from the facility. We'll be there to make sure people turn into the right drive. And if we need to do something, we'll address that. U.S. Lumber has just been a fantastic experience for us to meet them. I always ask them why they call it U.S. Lumber, because they really provide most everything but, lumber. But I think they would be a good citizen. We did research on them, by the way, to find out how they performed in other communities, how they were accepted, and we found it to be very, very favorable. As far as traffic, we had just under 1 million people come to the Incrediplex. We had them come from all over, pack our parking lot. We would fill the restaurants, the hotels. It had a significant amount of traffic, and we're able to manage that. I would assure you that if there's a traffic issue, we would be sensitive to meet with our neighbors, make sure those things are addressed. And I can not speak for U.S. Lumber, but we found them to be very credible people. We're going to invest significantly to raise a little berm, landscaping, decorative fence so it looks nice from Sunnyside. We're putting an 8-foot fence around the perimeter to provide that safety we were talking about for both people coming in and also protected for the client. So we, the owners of Incrediplex, if you will, are returning the building back to what it originally was, but trying to beautify it from the road. And I think they're going to spend a lot of time putting things inside the building for a period of time. I don't think that, and I would call upon, I think they could explain how their trucks would effectively get in and out and know how to do that. But I just want to emphasize, the owners aren't leaving. It's just a different use for the building, returning to what it originally was. And we'll be good neighbors as we've been all these years. So we're not going anywhere. But we think we've got a great tenant that is willing to relocate and bring the resources to Lawrence from other parts of Indianapolis, which we thought was a real positive. So we feel good about it, and I feel great that John will be here, keep an eye on things as well, and we'll be sensitive to the city and to our neighbors, of course. And I think they've done their homework, U.S. Lumber, as far as the accessibility and the frequency. And though there are larger vehicles, there'll be a whole lot less frequent than a lot of the traffic we had that was going on at Incrediplex. So, but anyway, we've really enjoyed. It's a great community, and we hope to continue to be business individuals here and own the building and have a good, trustworthy tenant to be of value. Okay? Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else for or against the petition? Okay, if not, we'll hear from, I thought your comments would come underneath City of Lawrence.
That's fine.
That's okay, go ahead. I was getting ready to call for the City of Lawrence.
So Dan Zerner, Director of Economic Development for City of Lawrence. I don't think there's a single person here tonight that hasn't spoken from the heart. And I'm in one of the toughest jobs it could possibly be. I respect the councilmen and their concerns and their constituents. I respect the owners of Incrediplex, and I think it's pretty neat that we have owners that have been supporting the city this long with such responsibility. There are things that haven't been mentioned tonight. As Economic Development Director, I could bring prospects to this project in an industrial environment that would work 24 hours a day. I could bring prospects to this site that produce dust, produce noise, produce real damage to the community, and still be appropriately zoned in that parcel. I think the lease component, the question that Mr. Wells raised, they were essentially leasing this as an Incrediplex facility. It's the same owner group. At least the owner group hasn't changed. Relative to the traffic, I certainly understand more than anybody that I have young grandchildren, live in a subdivision where they drive way too fast. But I think the trade-off of 1,000 people leaving Incrediplex on cell phones and not paying attention to what they're doing, their kids screaming in the back, compared to a professional truck driver coming in and out there 8 times a day in the morning and 8 in the afternoon, is a lot less than 1,000 cars coming in and out from a general traffic perspective. Mr. Venagopoulos has explained to me that this Sunnyside Road was built for truck traffic. It's an industrial thoroughfare. So when you look at how this is built, you look at the minimal impact to the neighborhood from an industrial plant perspective. You looked at it, it was originally that way. Plus, I want to say that I've been working for 3 months or so with these owners to make the changes. The city has imposed these changes on the owners. We imposed the berm, we imposed the landscaping, we imposed the front fence changing, we imposed the security fencing, and we imposed the light fencing. And not once have they balked at what we've asked. So when I think you look at the Myers operation, the operation behind Myers, this is as clean and benign of industrial use as we can possibly get to a good tax-paying citizen that has demonstrated responsibility to the city and a partnership with city for many years. So I respectfully suggest to this board that this project be approved. Thank you very much.
Any questions for?
Yeah, Dan, I do have a question. We asked for the continuance as a board last meeting because there was not notice sent to the council. Did the dialogue happen with the council, and will the council always be notified in future cases?
So Renee has made a change that the council will always be notified. And I think the council would share with you almost on a quarterly basis, but I was a little lax this time. I produce a comprehensive report of all the economic development activity and upcoming recommendations, which has since gone out about 2 weeks ago, that discussed this project explicitly.
Okay, thank you. That was our concern.
I wasn't sure if you were going to speak or not.
Actually, I think Dan covered most of the questions and concerns other people had. Regarding the turn-in, right-in.
You want to introduce your?
Oh, sorry. My name is Sri Venugopal, and I'm the city engineer. I review the petitions mostly with Dan and provide my recommendation mostly on the engineering aspect of this, on the zoning side of that. So we looked at it in very detail, like Dan discussed, and we requested additional stuff to be around the facility, which they have agreed. And in my years of experience, having 8 trucks in the morning and 8 trucks in the afternoon on a road like Sunnyside is not a deal breaker. You know, these 8 trucks don't come in like all of a sudden. They are sporadic. When they come in, they take a left. I mean, yeah, a car might have to wait a few seconds behind them until they take the left. But it's just normal on thoroughfares to have that kind of truck traffic. And I looked at the existing truck traffic, and Interplex does have some truck traffic every so often. So it's not adding an enormous truck traffic to Sunnyside. So I'm not really concerned about the amount of traffic that's going to be put on Sunnyside and the backup and the delays that's going to create. A train can delay the whole traffic for 4 hours or 30 minutes or more. So, and these truck drivers, if they have to wait for the train to clear up to take a right turn, they'll have to wait. I mean, I think that's kind of normal for any facility right next to the railroad track. And regarding the turn-in and the turn-out, we'll closely monitor it, and if that's getting to be a problem, we'll notify them that they have to modify their drives to make sure that they don't impede into the oncoming traffic that much. But usually, a truck you have seen several times where a truck turns, it actually gets into the oncoming traffic a little bit before they turn it completely. It's kind of a normal maneuver for the truck drivers, but if that becomes a problem and the truck traffic gets increased, then we as DPW and as engineering, we will closely monitor this kind of changes all the time. And when they come to us for permits, we will monitor it a little bit more. We will review it a little bit more clearly at that time.
Go
ahead.
Certainly, I understand that there was truck traffic going into Incrediplex.
Sure.
I doubt seriously it was the same type of traffic, though. Has there been any study of the average load amount in pounds of these trucks coming in and out daily, and what the effect that amount of pounds on that stretch of road will do for, breakdown of the asphalt and things?
Sunnyside is a thoroughfare. It has 13-14 inches of asphalt, which is capable enough to handle 30,000-40,000 easels, which is a fully loaded trailer truck.
I understand that on paper, but we've not looked at this.
I mean, I looked at this, the thickness of the, I mean, I researched on some information on how when the Sunnyside Road was built and what the typical asphalt thicknesses are, and it's no different than 56th Street. It's no different than Oaklandton. So it's an average thickness is 13 to 14 inches on gravel, and it's been years there. So, and as part of the city of Florence, it's our responsibility to maintain some of these roads when they deteriorate. You know, Indianapolis has to reconstruct it, but as you have seen, all the patching and everything, we do it on all the thoroughfares. So, you know, roads deteriorate, and we'll patch it as necessary. But I'm pretty confident that Sunnyside can handle this kind of truck traffic.
I'm not concerned necessarily about the weight on Sunnyside itself, but in terms of thinking about the width of the road, the amount of anglage and it takes for a truck to make, whether it's a left-hand turn or a right turn out, yes, a truck is going to go into, you know, the opposite lanes. I'm glad that the folks, your neighbors, or the church neighborhood was able to talk about the damage that they've had. So I'm wondering if there's something that can be done in terms to better designate, whether it's widen the drive into the facility, make it more clear to lessen the impact of if somebody gets lost, misses a turn, you know, to prevent that kind of thing from happening. I mean, and I live down the street right off of Sunnyside. I work downtown, so that is my route back and forth. So I know the type of traffic that is on that road, and you know, a train can slow you down. If a truck misses and doesn't judge the turn very well and gets stuck in the ditch because there really isn't a side, there isn't a berm, there isn't a, you know,
shoulder.
There isn't a shoulder, thank you. Things happen and disaster strikes. It doesn't take much to disrupt, you know, so I think that it would give us security to know that all of that has been taken into effect or into consideration, and what could potentially be done to prevent to prevent issues. I mean, I'm greatly concerned that the driveway for the church has been damaged, as folks, and my nephew was baptized at that church, so I know that there's one way in and one way out. So that's a concern for me.
I think the issue with people trying to use it different, I mean, they miss the drive and go around and they had to use other drive. I think that could be solved with some signage. I mean, I don't know what else can be done to completely eliminate other than, cutting off that left turn into the church, which then going to eliminate every left turn into the church. Right. So I think an education to their customers, and especially the truck traffic, their truck drivers, saying what is the entrance, what is the exit, and then maybe adding some signage so that any new customers knows where that is. It's the only way I can think of to eliminate that kind of U-turn into somebody else's property. You can't change a guy who just still want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that education and some signage would help. A big signage saying this is your left for U.S. lumber. Maybe put a decent big signage to just attract your attention. On the drive itself, we can have them submit what do we call an auto turn. Basically, they can show us with the existing drive how the truck will come in and how the truck will go. There is a software they can put in a full-size truck and show how it will maneuver the traffic into the drive and out of the drive. And that could be done when they come to us for permit. I can specifically request that I need to see that documentation.
Okay.
There is a issue at the intersection, on Pike and Sunnyside, which often there is. What would prevent the drivers from making a left-hand turn to avoid that, and then going the opposite direction on Sunnyside, past the train tracks, past the school, and down around the S-turn, and back up the hill through that area.
They will have to put a sign there saying no left turn allowed for truck traffic. And then educate their drivers, and then we have to monitor it, just like, they have, legally I cannot restrict left turns into Sunnyside without a specific orders, but that's something that we will have to work with the new tenants and say, you have to tell your truck drivers that regardless of what happens at Pendleton and Sunnyside, you can only turn right. And, we won't enforce it too. Like DPW and engineering would have to monitor that.
Yeah, I recall that as a steel plant. And I can remember humongous rolls of steel coming in there, and I can never remember trouble. That it was, I think they took rolls of steel and fabricated them or something before Incrediplex was there. And they looked like monsters coming in. And they had to be heavy as heck. So I guess my only point is the roads seem to handle that, and the turns, they certainly look bigger than a normal semi to me back in the day. So.
But like as Dan pointed out, this is already zoned for industrial. Anything that's going to come here is going to have trailers and trucks and flatbeds and larger vehicles because it's an industrially zoned property. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the petitioner again.
Thank you. Heard a lot of testimony tonight, a lot of different points of view. I'm just going to relate a couple of points. I think from a board's perspective, you're actually lucky and in a very good position that we're here before you, because a lot of the concerns that have been expressed don't relate to what we're asking for, but relate to an industrial use that is permitted. A lot of people get in their head that Incrediplex, we loved it. Incrediplex had to have the use variance. This use does not need a variance to operate. The only things that are triggering it are the outside storage and the height of the fence. So you could literally have a user come in and pull permits and occupy without the outside storage variance and have 10 times more traffic, truck traffic, et cetera. But I think to U.S. Lumber's credit and to the owner's credit, we came back with, to provide you as a board with information to satisfy you that you're not creating a problem for the community. And I would hardly think that 8 trucks scattered over a couple of hours in the morning and then 8 more a little bit later is going to create the kind of congestion and problems that would embarrass the administration, this board, or the community. And I think that if you kind of take off your board hat for a minute and think about a business person's mindset, if they're going to look to invest to move an operation to this facility, they are paid to move product to customers in an efficient and timely manner. And they would be crazy to move to a spot that just doesn't work. So I think we have to give them a little bit of credit to make this kind of investment and sign on for a long-term lease with the owner to operate here and do it in a fashion that's not sensitive to the environment that they're going in. I think the signage information at the entry drives is an excellent idea. We're happy to do that. We'll put that on the record. They do that anyway, but we'll put it on the record. And if you need it in the form of a commitment, that's not a problem. But hopefully the other operational issues, understanding the employment level and kind of the traffic patterns, the changes that we've made to the site plan have been responsive to your needs. Again, this is a permitted use. We're just seeking a couple of development standard variances that we think are justified, given the location, the existing tree line in the back that mitigates the rail line, et cetera, that putting this tenant into this building and is a good reuse and very helpful to what can be a very difficult situation when you have an older building. They're not always easy to reuse. So we think and we hope that you agree that the variances that we're asking for are justifiable, and we ask that you vote yes tonight. And again, we have several people here to answer any final questions.
Right. Does the board have any final questions at this time?
I do not.
No. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Petitioner has made their rebuttal. Does anybody, any remonstrators, that you get a chance to come back up and talk? Anybody else? Any remonstrators?
Thank you. Rick Wells, still was on the council in District 2. And as you all know, this is it. This is where it gets decided. What gets told, what's going to happen down the road may or may not happen. Hopefully it does. I live in Samuel Records neighborhood, and there is a couple of different places. One's an industrial park that was very poorly put in on the edge of my neighborhood, and the only way for the trucks to get to that industrial park is through that neighborhood. And I very gratefully would like to thank the administration for the bollards that they had put on the corner of my property. I had a guardrail there that got demolished I don't know how many times. A fire hydrant on the corner of my property has been demolished I don't know how many times. But there are other neighbors that need those bollards as well, and try to keep the trucks out of their yards. And they've been waiting for a long time. I've suggested that we put signage. They mentioned signage. We put signage on Pendleton Pike to direct the traffic, or the trucks to come in off Franklin Road on 47th Street, so they don't try to make those turns on those little narrow streets, and to keep them out of everybody's yards and the fire hydrants and people's property and doing damage. But so I just like for you to keep it in thought, because I know you guys are going to do the right thing, and I'm not saying that I'm for this or against this, but I trust your judgment, and I trust you'll do the right thing. And Mr. Crouch, yes, we are getting notification, and if any of you had anything to do with that, I deeply thank you, because we were getting notification and then we wasn't, and now we are again. So that was greatly appreciated. Hopefully we can start getting notification on all the other committees and boards meetings. So we're still working on that now. But anyway, that's what I have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, the board is going to vote. I'm going to put the commitment in here of the light shielding for any fixtures on the north side of the property. Are there any other commitments you would want me to add? That's not.
On behalf of the city, I would suggest you add
Signage.
And you might explain the evening, we only have 4 members here.
Right, it would have to be, if it happens to be a tie, 2 and 2? Correct, it would be a continuance. So, just to let you know. At this time, the board will be voting on 21 LSV-05 6002 Sunnyside Road, varies the development standard of the following sections of the City of Indianapolis Consolidated Zoning Subdivision Ordinance in order to facilitate occupancy of a portion of the existing facility by a distributor of lumber type 743-306-2 outside storage in excess of 25% of the building within 500 feet of a protected district without complete wraparound screening fence and an excessive height of fence, and 744-510-2, a 12-foot tall fence in front and side yard proposed, 3 1/2 permitted in the front yard and 10 permitted in the side rear. And the two other commitments that were added would be light shielding for any fixture on the north side of the property and signage to no left turn on Sunnyside. At this time, the board has voted 2 to grant and 2 to deny, so it has been continued to next month. Now we will hear 21 LUV06 10605 Demi Drive, Suite A, a variance of use of Table 743-1 to allow motor vehicle sales, which is not permitted.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, I'm David Deering, 921 East 86th Street, Suite 203 in Indianapolis. I'm here for Panelcraft Incorporated, the petitioner, seeking a variance of use to allow motor vehicle sales in this I-3 area. When Panelcraft signed the lease for this property, it was not aware that it needed a variance, so we're here to try to rectify that situation today. The use of this property for motor vehicle sales will not disturb any of the adjacent property owners and will not diminish their property values. All the activities will be conducted inside, nothing at all outside. No cars will be stored outside. No cars will be displayed outside. There are about 15 vehicles inside the building. There are no repairs to be conducted, no body work, no painting. It's only sales. The activity that we're seeking to authorize here is much less intense than many of the activities that would be legal under the I-3 classification, such as auto repair, fleet terminals, heavy vehicle washes, and heliports. Panelcraft is in agreement with the staff report. There's no objection to the condition that if the variance is granted, it would be limited to Panelcraft. And Panelcraft will agree to adhere to the operating plan that's on file. So I'd ask you to incorporate our proposed findings into the record and ask your approval of this variance. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer. Mr. Ryan Cook, the owner, is here as well.
So you're saying there'll be no outside storage?
Correct.
Everything will be inside.
Things inside.
So people would come to the facility and would go in and see, look at the cars?
Yes.
Is that how it?
Yes,
Okay.
just as it is now, there's nothing outside, only, Mr. Cook's personal vehicle when he drives, or personal vehicle of someone who goes there to look at a car.
How will people know that this is located?
I beg your pardon?
How will people know that this is located there?
It is
Are there
what?
plans for signage to direct people to this location? How will people know that?
Well, Mr. Cook has other facilities where he does do body work, works on vintage automobiles, and I believe most of his publicity would be through word of mouth, but he can speak to that better than I can. Do you want to address that?
Yeah, so all our sales are appointment only. So we schedule appointments. We don't, it's kind of a startup right now. We're just going to see where it goes. I own 2 body shops. So a lot of it's word of mouth. It's a lot of customers. I've been employed for myself for 12 years. So it's just really word of mouth right now.
Do you have a website
Yes,
where the cars are displayed?
yes, yeah.
You sell all kinds, or is it just going to be automotive, or is it going to be sickles and
No, it's only automotive.
only
No
automotive?
motorcycles, no boats.
How many vehicles would the property allow for in indoors?
Currently, it's in a warehouse, so we only have 15 inside.
So you currently have these vehicles in the building at this.
Correct.
So you don't have them any other places for sale, right? You're just now moving them over here.
Yes, so we leased this building a year ago, and we did our application for a dealer's license, everything, turned it in, and the state kicked it back and said, no, this isn't zoned for what it said. We went to the leasing agency, and they said, well, yeah, it is. Well, we got into an argument, and then finally, we got a hold of zoning, and they said, no, it's not leased for this, you can't do it. So that's what brings us here today.
Okay. And your plan of operation is from 9 to 5, did I see?
Correct.
Monday through Friday, not on the weekends?
Correct.
One employee?
Correct.
And there will be no mechanical repairs, body work, or anything,
That is
correct?
correct.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll hear, anyone here for or against the petition? We will now hear from the city of Lawrence. Oh,
Give me a minute to get up.
well, you could start with the hand.
I can get the hand up a lot quicker than I can the body. I just had a couple of questions. I mean, we all know, that Lawrence isn't exactly short on car lots, but, hearing this, that it is the vehicles to be kept inside is reassuring. I am curious as to, is this a buy here, pay here thing? Because that wasn't brought up, because we have a lot of those too. And but yeah, if the vehicles aren't out, and with the signs and the flags and the balloons and all that, I don't think it would be as, as big a deal as what we have currently. Now we see on the pike, every 20 feet, we see, a used buy here, pay here car lot. So it was just a couple of questions that I had is, is it going to be a buy here, pay here? Will he have like a big sign where, anybody can just say, okay, yeah, there's a place I can go buy a car, but at least it would be inside. But, so anyway, those are just a few concerns that I had. And like I said, I'm not for it or against it, but I was just curious. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll hear from the city of Lawrence. Dan?
Thank you, folks. A lot of people don't understand that the state of Indiana requires a certain zoning class to be able to get a license to sell autos. That's the only way the license comes through, is one of two zoning classes, this is one of the applications. And in this particular case, the way Sri and I, don't let me put words in your mouth, but the way we're viewing it, this is just like a great big garage that he wants to have to house his classic cars, of which he's going to sell a few a year. Drive those automobiles to protect them out of the weather, have a place where a client calls and wants to see a car, he can walk them in and show it. No signage, it's offensive. No traffic, it's offensive. Nothing outside, it's offensive. I think, again, considering that this is commercial industrial property, his ask is far less benign and threatening to the city than anything we could possibly have. So we certainly recommend approval.
Thank you. Any questions? The city of Lawrence?
Well, I'm not sure for the city. I haven't heard them say there'll be no gaudy neon signs or, and maybe we'll cover that in the next question.
Yeah. Sari, did you want to? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We can hear from the petitioner again.
So to answer his questions, no neon siding, no balloons, no flags, none of that stuff. It's exactly what the gentleman here described. It's cars that are inside to protect them from the weather. Like I said, we had 15 cars. The hailstorm came through. None of my cars got damaged, luckily. It's a different way to sell cars. It's not a traditional car lot. It's more appointment-based. It's more, there's only one of us, it's me. And I have 2 other businesses I have to run, so I'm constantly going back and forth. It's the easiest way for me right now to do it the way I want to do it. But as far as big signs being out on the street, no, it's not going to be any of that.
So what will your signage be?
It's a 3x5 sign that's in front of my building. It says Panelcraft Auto Sales. That's as big as it's going to be.
Will you commit to that?
I will.
Commit to what, a 3x5 sign?
Only a 3x5 sign over the door, did you say?
It's to the side of the door.
Only, and no,
No balloons, neon?
I can add to that. So anytime he has to put, my name is Sri, city engineer. Anytime they have to change a sign or put a big sign, they will have to come to us for the signage ordinance anyways.
Right.
And for a building like this, they would have to come for a variance to put any other bigger sign than this.
Good. We can still make the commitment if we want, though. Yeah.
and no,
Makes us feel better.
Absolutely.
and no outside, what do you want to call it? No outside
Standalone sign.
Advertising.
advertising.
Yeah. Or storage of cars.
I point out too, I think you saw it, but
Yes.
the way we wrote the recommendation applies to him who owns the building.
Outside advertising, what was the other, or
What?
it was no outside advertising, or what? What was the other one we,
Auto.
display?
Auto storage.
Okay. Are you willing to commit, the conditions would be that the approval be valid for this tenant only and adhere to the plan of operation filed with the petition, with this petition, and the commitments of no more, larger than a 3x5 sign and no outside advertising or auto storage?
Yes.
Okay. Is the board ready to vote at this time? The board will be voting on 21 LUV 10605 Demi Drive, Suite A, variance of use of table 743-1 to allow motor vehicle sales with the following commitments that it will, condition is the approval is valid for the tenant only and adhere to the plan of operation filed with this petition. The other commitments are no bigger than a 3x5 sign and no outside advertising or auto storage. The board has unanimously granted your petition.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's some, few other things that we need to look at. The approval of Resolution 1, 2021, a written policy for member participation via electronic means. I believe Renee gave us a copy of that, didn't she?
Yes.
Now, Dan, do we have to vote? We have to vote, correct? To whether we want to accept it or not. Okay, does any member have any questions at this time about this?
Are we first voting on an electronic vote, or are we voting on?
We're on the electronic, the written policy for member participation via electronic means.
Only, and the
Only.
other rules.
That could be another, that's a separate thing.
My comment that written policy is actually the new state requirements.
Okay. So all those in, I need a motion to approve and a
So move we,
Second.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. We have passed the resolution, and now we need approval of the updated rules of procedure manual. The reason, the changes include a process for rezoning of a property and the appeal process, and they also added fees for rezoning, correct?
Right, so Sri Venugopalan, city engineer. So I worked with Renee based on the new legislation that went into effect and based on the notification we received from Indianapolis Department of Metropolitan Development that they will not be responsible for any rezoning or zoning-related decisions moving forward. We wanted to update the rules and procedures manual to make sure that we have the process set aside for that. So none of the process for the variance is changing. The board will have the unanimous approval or denial authority for the variances. For the rezoning, per the state law, the council has the final approval or denial for the rezoning petition. But as part of the process, we are still going to bring the rezoning petitions in front of the board, have a discussion like this, and provide your recommendation, whether it's approval or denial, to the council to make the final decision. Also, we have modified some of the fees to just be in line with other communities. So that's why some of the fees are a lot lesser than what Indianapolis was charging, just based on what we see around in the other communities and what's reasonable for a community of our size. So the good thing is it's lesser expensive for anybody applying for rezoning, and also it cuts out at least 3 months of time. So it's a lot sooner process and a little less expensive.
You have changed them.
Yeah. And we will have, like in my email I mentioned, we will have an outside planner. We assist the department as necessary, because some of the rezonings could be pretty heavy and, it's beyond my planning knowledge. So we are going to have an outside planner who's going to review the rezoning petitions, and then they'll provide a recommendation which will be reviewed by me and Dan, and then we'll present it to BCA.
Okay.
So this took effect July 1st.
Correct.
From the legislature.
Correct. And we got an email notification from Indianapolis explaining that they are completely out of the picture. They will not do any more professional reviews, engineering review, planning reviews.
I need a motion and a second to
I
approve.
have a question.
Sure, I'm sorry.
We say in here, and I think we have to, it says, notice by petition to owners of adjoining land, which is common, and to neighborhood organizations.
Right.
Do we have a registry, a neighborhood
Yeah,
organization?
usually Renee provides them with the list of the owners and all the associations we know of.
So did we get them from the city of Indianapolis?
We
do have a list.
I know Renee provides all the information as much as we have through our GIS. We have a GIS database, so I think it might be through there and through the permitting or through the information we have through other sources.
So we're not asking the petitioner to do the impossible task of figuring
it out. We give them the labels, and they'll and that has not changed. None of that has changed.
She's done that for years.
But I always thought it was through Indy, who has this
No.
whole
Oh, yeah.
I've never registered my neighborhoods with Lawrence.
I mean, it doesn't mean like every single neighborhood might be there, but we do have information on a lot of HOAs. And we have been doing that for the variance for all along.
No, I just feel good that we have it. And I think it's appropriate that we want the petitioner
To
to.
help them with that information.
Do you want a motion now?
Any other questions?
So moved.
Those in favor of adopting the new rules of procedure signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Procedures have been passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, the City of Lawrence Board of Zoning Appeals is adjourned.